So, how has the uncertainty around US tariff and trade policy influenced Aberdeen Group's investment strategy, and how does the firm plan ahead in such volatile and rapidly changing environments?
Well, I mean, obviously, I think geopolitics in general, including some of the changes around US trade policy,
Hmm.
has been highly uncertain, maybe at an unprecedented level, to be honest, over the first half of this year. Um, in those circumstances, one of the key things for us is to be able to offer a level of insight and expertise, assuredness, if you like, for our clients who want that kind of support to be able to navigate that level of uncertainty. Um, Particularly for a largely active asset manager like ourselves, you know, there are opportunities perhaps to explore some of the volatility that comes along with that. Um, but as I say, the critical thing for us is to be there to support our clients in as I say, a fairly unprecedented set of circumstances. Um, each different asset class, there will be different dynamics that flow from something like the changes to trade policy from the Trump administration. And our role is to understand those and apply uh, our expertise and then make that available to our clients as they make their own choices around investing.
Okay. Okay. That's great. So given that the UK faces a relatively low tariff compared to like the EU, would that maybe make British business more attractive as an investment?
I mean, there's certainly some voices in the market who see that. Well, you don't have to look far to find commentary around describing the potential end of so-called US exceptionalism,
Mm.
um, brought on by some of the changes the administration have made over recent months. I think it's easy to overstate that, but there is some data to suggest that capital flows towards Europe and to some extent the UK have improved in the first 6 months of this year. But it's clearly remains highly uncertain as to how the tariff situation will continue to evolve. We're a further delay from the US administration at this point. What will happen at the end of that, is difficult to predict. It seems that to some extent the market has got itself comfortable with that level of uncertainty. Um, but yeah, I mean, as I say, there is some data to suggest that that European and UK markets are seeing some inward flows of capital
Yeah.
that you could ascribe to that.
Okay. Next question is, as the world becomes more automated, where do you see AI being a part of your business operations going forward?
Um, I think like all large businesses and businesses of all sizes, in fact, we are exploring in numerous different ways how we may deploy AI within the business. There's clearly the opportunity to automate processes and create efficiencies that way. Uh, there's a lot of interest within our sector around um, what role AI can play in portfolio construction. We have a live project with the University of Edinburgh Informatics Centre,
Mhm.
globally renowned centre in this sort of field, we are in partnership with, looking at some of those opportunities. And we it, it's an exciting area, but it's also an area where you need to take care around how you make progress as well, and we're very conscious of that. So, there are internal there's a range of use cases, and yeah, we're exploring a number of those, and there will no doubt be efficiencies that arise from that.
Okay, and there was a Bloomberg report that suggested 6%, there was a 60% increase in unemployment for graduates that studied finance and insurance. This is partly down to the impact of AI. What would you say to those working at the Aberdeen Group who are worried about their job maybe being replaced by that?
Uh, Certainly, everything that I've seen so
Mm,
far, and I think what we would say is that uh, we are working with AI,
mm,
and it is a tool for people to use, ideally making uh, people individually more efficient. If they can, automate some of what they do, they can spend time on higher value tasks. So that's how we are seeing it at the moment. I don't see AI kind of wholesale replacing people across the business anytime soon. As I say, for us, it's an additive feature which can enhance what we do as teams of humans.
mm. Um, what do you anticipate the negative effects of the Scottish Government's 2045 climate goals on businesses in Scotland? And what can they maybe do to mitigate against these effects?
Well, you'd have to give me some insight into the detail of the Scottish Government's 2045 climate goals are before I could give you much of an answer, I'm afraid.
Um, it's just, I think, to be honest, I didn't make this question. It was someone else in the committee. So I think it is just sort of net zero by 2045. I think that's the main goal. And I think there's a bit of concern about the transition for businesses to that. Mhm.
Well, certainly for a business like ours, the climate transition is well, there's kind of two key ways that we think about it. Um, One is that the risks for individual companies that we invest in, but also for economies as a whole, those risks need to be factored into, the investment decision-making processes, and indeed they are. Um, that's not necessarily a new thing. So at Aberdeen, we've been, you know, ESG considerations and factors have been part of how we assess investment opportunities for more than 20 years. Um, the Yes, of course, the kind of ambitions and goals and the in some countries, you mentioned Scotland, where there's a drive to achieve a net zero target by 2045, in this case 2050, and for lots of other countries.
Mhm.
That the other side of this is that creates a lot of opportunities. We don't have to look far in Scotland to see industries which are part of that transition process, whether it's renewables, decommissioning. There's science and tech right at the center of that,
Mhm.
and uh, you know, those again bring require investors and bring investment opportunities,
Mhm.
and again, so that that is a growing trend and something which we are playing into as part of that.
Mhm. Great. And final question. What skills and experience on a CV would make someone stand out for Aberdeen Group? And what is typically looked for beyond academic performance?
Um, well, I don't want to talk on behalf of my HR colleagues. I mean, I think
Mhm.
having you know we have brought people in at that level into the team I work in. I know from a personal perspective, um, being able to demonstrate a genuine interest in what we do and an understand, no one is expecting people to arrive, fully formed or with a level of expertise that people in the business would already have, but we do expect people to be able to demonstrate a level of interest and a basic grasp of,
Mhm.
the key aspects of what we do as a company. Um, I think a lot of graduates, perhaps understandably, enter the job market and apply to a broad brush of different roles in the hope that something will stick. I think for us, people who have a real commitment to working in the sector, that's definitely a plus. We have a particular set of values and way of working and behaviours which we expect, and obviously, we would be looking for that in any process as well. Look, there's practical things. If people can show that they have been involved in beyond just getting their degree, have been involved in sort of relevant activities and so on, then I think that is
Mhm.
always helpful. But yeah, I mean, there's no one silver bullet,
Mhm.
and it takes a kind of range of skills and experiences, and we're interested in the breadth of people's skills and experiences
Mhm.
and backgrounds too, as we make our decisions. So yeah, it's worth thinking about that in the round.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions we have. I just want to say thanks for doing this interview, our second one of the summer. It's been great talking to you, Duncan. Thank you.